This is the story of my life.
Once upon a time, in a land far away,
Of course there was the handsome prince. Who could forget the handsome prince? I was 5 years old and I was in love.
From a very young age, I've always wanted to be the little princess.
Who had hearts as black as soot. Although the young girl loved her stepmother and stepsister,
In fairy tales,
they did
stepmothers
not
are
love her in
always
return.
evil.
The stepmother was a wicked woman who was always jealous of the girl's goodness and beauty.
It's really weird though how in
time, the
fairy
man
tales,
also died.
all the ugly characters
The young
are
girl was
bad
left
and all the
to
beautiful
cruelty
characters
of
are
her
good.
stepmother, who turned her into a slave. She took away her pretty clothes and made her wear
It's
a
fairy
gold
tales
bra.
like
She
Cinderella
also had
that
to scrub the floors, wash
try to
and
make you
iron the
believe that
clothes,
suffering
and do all
is like
other
good.
household tasks. One day, when she was
I mean,
cleaning
Cinderella
out the fireplace, Ursula, her
had to
stepsister,
suffer
saw
in
the
order
girl
to
kneeling
get
on the floor covered
a
in
life,
soot
you
and
know?
began to
And it's
taunt her,
like,
saying,
if she didn't
the
take
poor
that
servant
suffering
girl
gracefully,
Cinderella.
then maybe
Cinderella
the
was very
fairy
sad,
godmother would
but
never have
she
showed up,
remembered how her
you
mother
know?
had taught her to be good, mild, and pleasant. And
Females
so
are
she
poor
always
girls or beautiful
graciously accepted
princesses
her
who will only be
lot,
rewarded if they
but longed
demonstrate
for the
passivity,
day when
obedience,
she
and
would be
submissiveness.
truly happy again. She hoped that if she was good and endured all the trials which faced her, that one day her life might change. Then came the day when an invitation from the palace arrived announcing a royal ball. Cinderella's heart soared at the idea of a ball at the palace, and the prince. Oh, Cinderella could hardly imagine someone so wonderful.
Personal psychological dependency, the deep wish to be taken care of by others, is the chief force holding women down today. This Cinderella complex, a network of largely repressed attitudes and fears, that keeps women in a kind of half-light, retreating from the full use of their minds and creativity. Like Cinderella, women today are still waiting for something external to transform their lives.
And she realized that she hadn't had a beautiful dress since the death of her beloved father. Surely a scruffy servant girl would never be welcome at the ball.
So much emphasis is put on the way people dress, the way people look, that if you don't fit the bill, then you start to believe that there's something wrong with you, even though there isn't nothing wrong with you.
I want, make it fit. I want the glass slipper. I want, make it fit. I want the glass slipper. I want the glass slipper.
You start thinking, maybe then it's the way I look and maybe I should change my appearance. Well, if I change my hair, or if I change my weight, or if I change the colors of my eyes. Like Cinderella changed her appearance and she got her pretty dress and her pretty slippers, and then somebody will come notice me and somebody will save me, then the glass slipper is going to fit.
I remember as a little girl I had a glass slipper. Well, it wasn't actually glass, it was plastic and it was green, but it was as close as I could get to a glass slipper. And I was just waiting for the prince to come in through my bedroom door and slip it on my tiny little foot. That's all I was waiting for.
It doesn't always turn out to be perfect. Then you sort of feel like you have no defense to confront life, and that, you know, you've been lied to all your life. And I think that's wrong. Whoa, what have fairy tales done to me? My God, they've ruined my life.
When do I finally stop and say, enough? You know, the fairy tale is not coming true in my lifetime. We want it, but perfect doesn't exist. Only in fairy tales, you know?
No, Cinderella cried. I must go now. And with that, she ran away, leaving behind a tiny slipper.
When I was young, 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 I thought that I would grow up and meet the handsome prince, and he would sweep me away and we'd get married and live happily ever after. I wish I'd been told another story, maybe the real one.
And they lived happily ever after. The end.
Sei soltanto tu! È una disgrazia, una disgrazia!
Ma io sono un disgraziato, è una disgrazia di averti incontrato, hai capito? Ora non ne posso più, vattene una volta per sempre. Ma dove vai? Vieni qua, siedi stupido.
Lasciami vivere! Che cosa vuoi da me? Che cosa cerchi?
Ma stai zitto!
Che cosa cerchi?
I never wanted to listen. She spoke with an accent I didn't really understand, and it was different. And the stories usually involved someone named Peppino, Francisco, Caterine. And then there were mules and other farm animals in her stories. My mother would always have to explain them to me twice, maybe in an Italian that I understood. And my grandmother would feel sad, she'd look at me. She'd feel sad like you feel when you tell a story and nobody really gets it, and you have to say to them anyway, I guess you had to be there.
For my parents, it's been 40 years since they've come here. So basically the Italian they live is the Italian of 40, 50 years ago.
Mia mamma di Toro, quella in sud d'Italia, mio papà di Friuli al nord d'Italia. Our neighbors were Italians, our friends were Italians, we all spoke Italian. It was the only language I knew for the first few years of my life.
As a child, for me, it was just normal to go into a store and speak Italian to the butcher or the tailor or anybody.
I'm not sure exactly when I began to lose my ties to my culture. I mean, there was no dramatic event marking the change. I guess it was just a gradual pull away from the language, the traditions, away from the familiar.
The Italian community, well, I belong to my dad's Italian association. I don't know if that counts. I don't know. Basically, the most attachment I have to the Italian community would be that I hang around with mostly Italian people, I guess, And I go to Italian feasts, La Festa di San Dan and La Festa di San Michele and La Festa, whatever, all these festas, I don't even know what they are.
I do see myself bringing on the cultural experience for my kids, especially. I'd like to see all the family gatherings, the big holidays, the ethnic foods, the Sicilian cannolis, the wine making, the cheese making. Yeah, I really do see myself bringing on those traditions.
My father's from Larino and my mother's from Baranello, provincia di Campobasso.
My father's very traditional. Even if we went to Zimbabwe, he'd still be Italian. He comes home from work, he takes off his tie, you know, he puts on the rubber boots up to the knees with the dress pants, you know, stuffed inside. He's got like the old man t-shirts, muscle shirts with the sunburnt shoulders.
And the hat, what about the hat?
No, he doesn't wear a hat. He likes it when the sun beats on his face, when he's looking under the leaves to see the tomatoes if they're changing color, you know? And the grapes too. When he's picking the grapes, he's always mad because no one's there to help him, and he's complaining, and he's gonna be the only guy who's gonna be allowed to eat that stuff.
We do make the wine with my uncle Agnello, who's the butcher. We go over to his house and we make the wine every year. Actually, we didn't make it last year. We're gonna make it this year again. Contrary to popular belief, we don't stand in a big barrel and squash the grapes with our feet. There is a big barrel involved, but there's like a turnaround thing. You put the grapes in one on the top, into the top, and you kind of turn like, and we do that, and it squashes the grapes and it makes all the juice come out, and then you put them back in like 2 or 3 times, depending on how well you want these grapes squashed. And then you put them in Damajan. You make them ferment for about, I don't know, you know.
Winemaking is a family thing at my house. We get together with our family, my uncle, and well, you know, they go through the whole process. And then I know that once it boils and everything, it's got to stay for a while. And after it stays, we have to, how do you say it, tramita? We have to do it with la mancanza, otherwise the wine isn't good. I really don't know anything about this, but I just watch my father changing from one barrel to another barrel, and all I know is that there's always a liter of wine.
If you'd ask my parents why they make the wine, they'd probably say, "Se non lo facciamo, che beviamo?" Personally, I think it goes way beyond not having anything else to drink. It's an obligation to themselves to maintain the culture, even being so far away from home. There's something warm about being Italian. You know that there's a community there, that there's a reliance upon each other. We'd all basically share the same experiences growing up within the family. Sometimes you need something that connects you to a home. I saw the house that my father was born in.
I think it's important for all Italians to go back to Italy just to experience
this is where my mother came
what
to
Italy
get bread.
is and the environment that their parents grew up in.
Both my parents come from the same hometown, Montorio nei Frentani, on the coast of the Adriatic.
Italians, I think, are very passionate as a people. They, you can see it in their clothes, you can see it in their food, you can see it in the love for the sport, and everything they do. If you're in a crowd, I think you can easily pick out an Italian. They're always the loudest speaking people there.
Tu non sai quello che significa amare qualcuno, non lo sai.
Io parlo, tu
Sei un
parli,
egoista, ecco cosa sei, è cuore chiuso,
noi
vuoto.
parliamo,
Non
voi
sono solo cose
parlate,
che interessano, sono le
io
donne.
perderò,
Pensi che questo
tu
sia amore? Non credo.
perderà, noi perderemo, voi perderete,
I find the fact that we're living in a multicultural country, we shouldn't lose our heritage. We shouldn't lose what makes us Italian, what makes us special, and what makes us stand out. I think it's important to us. And if we do lose it, I will be sad because I'll be losing part of me.
Most second-generation Italian Canadians still speak Italian or some form of it, but eventually there will be less of a need to learn the language, and as generations go by, the Italian language in Canada will fade, and with it, the Italian culture.
Falla riposare. Falla riposare pure a noi.